You can start.
Hi everyone. So today, our topic is about digital divide. So we have three questions. What is the digital divide? How has it evolved into a digital divide 2.0? And what larger questions are reflected by such unequal access to technology? So we are going to start with the first question. The digital divide is the gap between people who have access to technology and people who don't. So it's not just about having a phone or a computer, it's also about knowing how to use it. So, a good example is when the United States switched from analog to digital TV in 2009. The government pushed the switch back because a lot of people, especially older people and also poor people, didn't have the right equipment to watch digital TV. If they switched too fast, these people would miss out on important news, education, and culture. So it showed that not everyone had equal access to technology. It also showed that technology is a big part of life today, and if you don't have it, you miss on a lot of things. Today, the digital divide has changed. Now people call it the digital divide 2.0. So a lot of countries now have the internet and basic technology, but the new problem is that the content is not always made for everyone. So, for example, in Tibet, people used to write their history on palm leaves. The leaves would break and fall apart after a while, but now with technology, they can save their history on the internet, and this helps protect their culture and share it with more people. Um, Still, many places have the internet but don't have good content in their own language or about their own culture. So even if people have the internet, it doesn't always help them in the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hi everyone. My name is Andrea. So, with everything that we just talked about with the digital divide, and then nowadays as it's kind of evolved into the digital divide 2.0, some really large questions that we can kind of reflect on these unequal accesses to technology can range anywhere from just like education opportunities. How are students able to academically participate to the full extent if there's proper tools, if there's improper tools at home? How are they able to, especially during things like COVID, do things online when the option to come in person is excluded? Or, if you have in different countries people who just might not have access to like an in-person building at all, how are they able to get that education, whereas other people might be able to? Some other really concerning questions could be like economic opportunities. A lot of people find job listings and start businesses nowadays online. We see things on the internet about, help wanted. You see all these ads, and that's all stuff that is going to be limited to people who don't have that proper access to um, the internet, or if they have it, it's not, the best. It's not, like skill wise, it's not accessible. So people aren't able to do things with the online resources that other people might have. Um, Same thing with if you look at things just like civic participation, being a citizen here or in any countries, if you're in a place where you cannot go to, different like meetings, or if you can't hear or see things on elections, you're automatically kind of put into this like subgroup, this like little isolated box where you're no longer getting the proper information. You're not getting kind of, what every, in this case, every American deserves. You're not up to date on anything that's like happening, especially with, now a lot of times voting can be very, very, very popular, like I guess spreading information online and through media. You see a lot of that. And so if you don't have that access and you don't have the things that kind of open you up to that information, you're automatically kind of at a disadvantage, you know? Another thing could just be social equality, things like um, problems with like race and income and, you know, like rural versus urban areas. Is a lot of that being affected by, you know, not having certain technologies, this gap, and then not having certain things kind of grows that even further. You know, we always have inequality in our world and in life, but when you have that like separation, that gap between technology and the media that you are able to have versus not accessible to, that automatically kind of goes into this bigger problem. Um, and I think there are many more, you know, there's a lot that can happen that we should reflect upon when there's this divide between proper, I guess, knowledge, proper like content being distributed through media and having that option, that accessibility and not. And I think that there's a lot that can be, you know, discussed there and talked about because it is a big deal, you know, especially nowadays as our world is kind of shifting toward a very, very technology, media heavy
Yeah.
place. It's very important to, you know, reflect on these questions and kind of see like what all is at risk here with these divides, you know? So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. We appreciate, you know, you guys listening
Thank
and
you.
bye.